you're having a good day. This is one of my root over rock trees. That is a Ficus Microcarpa. Made a video in July about this guy, and I just at that time I kind of felt like I should just do a follow-up of it to see how it kind of went in the next couple months. I did cut back the apex pretty hard, and I was trying to let the some of these lower branches run a little bit. And then I had the death in the family towards the end of July, and then honestly there's just been a ton of times I kind of forgot I needed to update it, and I just really haven't had the time. So right about now we're just going to go ahead and hop in the old hot tub time machine and go back to July and take a look at this guy, and then we'll be back in a minute. This is what I call my root over rock number one. I did start it in basically the winter of 2019. I say winter, January, February 2019. So it's a little over 5 years old. I actually I gave it a hard prune. I got some wire on it in February, late February this year. And I think I got to get in here and make sure I get this wire off before it bites in too much. I was keeping a good eye on it. Now it's just got a little bit too much foliage on it to really see, you know, how much it is biting in. But I'm sure it's time. Of this guy growing up, that original sacrifice branch that I had on it comes out from about here. You guys will obviously be able to see a lot more once I get it pruned up. But that's about where it came out from. And that scar is pretty much unnoticeable now. And then you might be able to see some evidence of when there was a straighter piece that I was thinking about holding on to. It would have made this a lot taller, but it had just a long straight piece, you know, where my finger would almost be up out of the picture there, where it kind of came up before there was like another canopy up there. And I just found that by me shortening it, it made it a lot more interesting. And basically I kind of regrew the apex here, if you will. And I do think it's looking a little bit better. Alright, and as I was finishing up, I was just kind of looking and thinking about what my plans for the future would be. And I was just, you know, kind of getting ready to say that I'm going to let it go wild for a little while. When I noticed this kind of getting out of hand, I may kind of come in and hedge prune the apex back a little bit. And then as I did look at that just a little bit more, I decided I'd go ahead and cut the growing tips off of all the twigs in the apex. Now if you just cut the growing tips, it's still nice and green out there. It really should just start growing, you know, out of there. I'll get back budding for sure, but not as much as if you were to cut all the way back to the hardwood. And I figure that'll give a good chance to just let these lower branches kind of, I got them pretty, you know, set with some decent movement. Probably looks like it should be a little more like that, just to, or maybe even more like that, so that it kind of looks like, you know, you got this open part of the rock here. Most of the root mass on the rock is there. The rock is quite heavy, and I would like to think, you know, whenever I put it in some kind of a display pot, that I'd be able to put it in something really shallow. And if I try to do anything like that, it would not hold up on its own. It would have to be tied into place and also in a deep enough pot to keep the, you know, to have some substrate in there enough to hold it steady too. I wouldn't want it just teetering on the edge of a rock. And you can kind of see here where it's got a sharp end of the rock going this way, and that's basically how it rests in the pot there. So I think this will have to be about the final angle of it. I may try to get just a little more, you know, tilt that way, but we'll see how it turns out. Alright, and then here we are back. I was originally considering probably cutting it back today and getting some wire on it. let it go wild until spring break or maybe school's out or something. Take some time to go ahead and cut it back at that point and get some wire on it. Not really in any hurry to get it anywhere. Since I've got it out here, give you the look all the way around. And of course, being a root over rock, like the way it is right now with all the foliage on it, about the only way you can see any of the rock at all would be from that angle there. That's the tip of the pot right there. I intend to pot it a little higher and perhaps change the angle. I think I was talking about it a little bit at the end of that video you guys just watched, so I'm not going to babble on about that too long. And try to get all the growing tips except for some of these little tiny ones that I was talking about down here. And then defoliate it, and then just take a look, because there's plenty of straight little branches in here that could use a little wire, but then there's also plenty of branches that have the little bit of back budding I'd like to keep. And so it's kind of either one or the other. Either I want to wire the whole tree, or I just don't want to put any wire on at all. But I'll come back in a minute. Alright, and so I decided to go ahead and cut it back a little bit further since I am not going to put any wire on it today. Actually, this one can go ahead and go back some more. I've usually been a little bit of an advocate for never defoliating unless you're going to go ahead and cut all the pruning tips off too. But I do have a couple trees that I did a little bit of experimenting on where I let them grow out, kind of got in and cleaned up unwanted foliage, but just defoliated the stuff I was keeping. And did that for about a year, and then got in there and got some wire on it. I may try that on this, just kind of depends on how it acts after this pruning here. Those other two trees I did that with were Ficus of basically the same variety. I mean, although I did get them from a couple different places, but still, basically what they call Green Island here in South Florida that everybody else says is Green Mound. But now you can get a little bit of a better look at it all the way around. A little worried about whenever I try to get it in a little bit of a nicer pot, a little worried about trying to get the rock to keep to a good angle that I want, but I guess I'll just have to worry about that once the time comes. I did go back to that first part of the video and realized I talked a little bit about where the scar was, where I had the sacrifice branch, and I never really did show a look at it. That was that scar there. You guys have been seeing this scar. This scar is all covered up when there's foliage on there anyway. This scar really does not. It's kind of the side that shows the most even when the tree's in leaf. I did work both of them with a knife a little bit. I have decided to, been in this pot for a little while, and since it doesn't have any foliage on there right now, try to take care of a couple of these crossing roots. These roots under here are a little more tighter to the rock. None of them are really clasping all that great, but this one is kind of crossing over there. Never really going to look all that super organized or anything, but at the same time I do want to take care of a couple of them, the more glaring problems when I can. This one I obviously want to keep, it's a lot bigger, and then this one's just a little small one that kind of popped out there and then crossed over itself almost. Take that guy out. And I think that's about it. There was, if you go back a few videos, I have a playlist for this, just this tree on its own. I don't know if you guys can see that all that well. It should be close enough, but all those roots coming right down there. This one, I believe, was either jumped out that way and had a big gap in it, and that's why I cut it off, or it was dying. And I remember when I cut it off, I said in the video, I hope it grows some new roots. And it did, so now there'll be some new ones there. They should continue to kind of thicken up. They all seem to be running together okay. And now that I got it up close there for you, just kind of show what that rock looks like all up close. One of these weird trees where it seems like all the best looks for the rock are not the best looks for the foliage. But again, I'll probably try to take care of that with an angle change.